Hi, Amy. I'm going to give you a little bit of feedback based on your updated poster. I'm assuming that the changes didn't come through correctly in the version that you sent me because quite a few of the pictures aren't showing up, and the logo, the capstone logo, is not on there anymore. And I can't see. It looks like many of your axes on your graphics didn't show up either. So I realize this probably is not what your finished poster looks like, and that there are some things that need to be adjusted, or maybe just the way that the file transferred to me. So that's fine. I'm sure that you will sort that out. Um, I think in terms of the content, though, it's really looking good. If I could make one suggestion, that would be to move your question up from the methods and internship to right after your background. And the reason for that is that you've set the stage in your background, and if you even before the figure. I mean, the figure's great, but it sort of breaks up the continuity between the background and your question, right? Because you set the stage really nicely. I think you should go right to the question. In your methods here, I think it would be really helpful when you say test one and test two. I think using the word survey, because people understand what a survey is, and um, um, you should probably indicate that you should probably indicate that those are surveys. I think that would be really helpful. I was also trying to think of some consistent terminology that you could use throughout, and I think insect fear and insect interest are good, and I think that if you could use those terms just consistently throughout, um, that would be really helpful. Um, if you use it in all your figures, you used it in all of your summaries. So if you just call that, just sort of term it insect fear. So, up here you say insect phobic, and I think we want to try to stay away from that. Um, you just call them insect fear respondents and insect interest respondents or something like that. If you turn it into a term that you're using, then and you consistently use that term, then I think that would be good. The other thing that I would point out is that you really do, if you're putting visual aids on the poster, and if they're pictures, if they're figures, whatever they are, including these guys down here, if you're going to put them on the poster, they should be numbered and they should be referenced in the text somewhere. Even if they're just, if you just reference them in terms of your work on the UW farm, that's fine. And make sure that you give them adequate captions. Always, captions that are adequate enough to help people understand what they're looking at and where the data is coming from. So, for instance, in this first figure, I know this is data that someone else produced, and so it would be good to indicate the source of that and how that data was collected. Yeah, so I mean, I think in general, you really want to provide enough. Um, you want to provide enough information in those captions that people can very quickly look at that and know that this was data collected in a survey and by whom and where and so on. So the who, what, when, where, why, and how of the figures is extremely important to have um, in the caption so people can very quickly read those captions and know what the information is and what it means. So, I get the distinct impression that these pictures down here might have been put in mostly as filler. And, what you might need to do is spread these things out a little bit more so that you can actually put in more detailed captions underneath them. You might have to remove those pictures just to put in more detailed captions. Down here, that maybe the same thing. I'm not sure. You could still use one of these pictures maybe and still give yourself a little bit more room. I don't think you need to cram too many pictures in here. And I think one picture about the UW farm and your internship would probably be adequate. So what you could do is you'd actually have the text come down on this side. You'd have your caption for this image over here on the right, if you wanted to. Um, Over here, you could put the caption for the Fiddleheads picture to the right and make it much more detailed. Um, the other thing is the order in which you talk about these things. If here, you're talking about higher rates of environmental education experience in those interested in insects and lower rates of those who are afraid of insects. That's you might want to reverse those only because you mentioned the order in which the figures occur is figure 2 and figure 3, right? So those things are actually reversed. The other thing, and I think that otherwise the way that you have it, the way that you have it typed out here is good. I mean, honestly, this is really, really greatly improved from your previous version, and it's flowing really well overall. There's a couple of things I think you could tighten up, and the captions are certainly something that I think are important because you want people to see the poster, and the first thing they're gonna do is they're gonna look at the figures because where people's eyes are drawn. And when they look at the figures, you really want them to be able to glean all of the necessary information to understand what the figures are telling them from both the content of the figure and the caption. All right, I think that is all I'm going to do for now because I know you do want to get this thing printed. As I said, I'm sure this is not projecting exactly how it looks for you. And so one thing you want to make sure of is that you save it as both a PowerPoint and probably a PDF when you go to get it printed so that you can be sure that the version that you hand off to them looks the way you intend it to look. And you probably want to check it on their machines because there's some weird things going on down there, especially at the bottom. All right. Well, you have a great Sunday, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.